Well, we got this engine in here. It's cleaned up. We're going to do something with it today. Stay tuned. Before we get started today, I really need to give a shout out to the kindness of the viewers. From as little things as liking and subscribing to the channel, but also the viewers that have helped us out with parts. And this engine and the rest of 7J, the carcass, the tracks, all that's going to go a long way for us to finish 4G and maybe 5T. So I really want to thank Kevin up in Montana for this. Just yesterday, these arrived in the mail from a kind viewer up in Minnesota, John. I really want to thank you. These are really what we were worried about getting for that pony motor, especially this intake gasket. But he also slipped in the box a very cool Sylphin gauge, an original gauge that'll go great on 4G. Plus a gauge kit to rebuild it. And Tom, thank you so much for your support of the channel. And many thanks to everyone that supports the channel. We didn't get too much water in there. I think we're probably going to get into this engine sooner rather than later, given our bearing situation on the bottom end of 4G. All the rest of these bearings aren't in too bad a shape. This one here on the back of the engine, it has started coming apart. And no, that's not from us beating on it to try and get it out. Yeah, we know that's not the best way. But that damage was caused long ago. Something got hot, something happened. You can clearly see on the top part of this bearing, there are several places in here where something came loose and it actually scored the bearing. It was quite literally the last thing we took off the engine over here on 4G. And that's going to be a problem because we found out that it was that bearing that was toast. Up until that point, we didn't see anything in there that had big red flags. Yes, it had wear. Yes, it was slightly out of tolerance, but it was still, we could still put it back together, clean everything up, and get it to run. And it would have been fine for as many hours as we've been using it. And this crank over here doesn't look in terrible shape. But that situation left us with limited options. Now, I have this engine here off a 7J. And our first point was to get it cleaned up. I'm going to drain the oil, and we're going to pull the pan off of here and have a look inside there. Probably going to take the bearings out of here and see what they look like. Our second option is to pull the engine out of 5T and have a look at those bearings. This one's seized up. We have no idea what to expect with any of them. And that's really our only options because we can't buy them. We can have somebody make them at a machine shop, but they're way too expensive. I can't afford it at this time. So I've got my fingers crossed that one of these engines is going to have some bearings that are going to work. But the priority is and always has been 4G. We found some very interesting things on this engine when we got it cleaned up. There's actually, I think, 3 layers of paint. There's an old cat highway yellow, the newer cat yellow, and in some places there's a orange from like a highway department. And there's also like a primer orange. This head's been off of here or new or redone, and it was never painted. First order of business, get the oil drained out of here so I can get that pan off. Change of plans already? We're going to pull the radiator off of here. I think it'll give us a lot more room. We have to anyway. Got the oil drained, surprisingly not in bad shape. I'm going to disconnect these oil cooler lines here and down here. I've already started taking the bolts out of this upper radiator, I don't know, flange. So, what's the matter over there, kitty? Yeah? You're talkative today. I'm going to show you guys a little trick that we've used to get hydraulic fittings and a lot of pipe and water line fittings that were corroded and rusted together loose. You need 2 hammers, a smaller one and a bigger one. Usually a 2-pounder and some about half that size. And you go on the flat parts of these nuts like this. And usually you want to go all the way around. In this case, I can't get on the other side, but I could switch my hammers and hit it from the other side. And that usually breaks it loose. Look at that. Like butter. And I know I cut it there, but I only did that because I had to go search for the right size wrench. There we go. No cuts there. Now I need to get the bolts out on the bottom of the radiator. I've got my oil lines off, everything's plugged up, and everything's drained. I'm going to get these pesky ones out of here first. There's one here and here. That one was kind of tough to break loose, and you really can't get anything else on it but maybe a box end or the open end of a wrench. While I'm under here, I'm going to get this lower radiator hose off of here. It's 9/16 bolts on the flange. And I know that's technically not a hose. Got 3 more bolts here. 1, 2, 3. I'll take them out. Got 1 bolt hold it on each side. Now it's time to rig the radiator up to the crane and get it picked. And a little too much pressure up on that thing. There we go. Here's another good spot. You can see that orange paint on the very bottom, and then the bright yellow, and then the newer, darker 80s cat yellow. Time to get this oil pan off of here. Dad just saved us a little frustration. I forgot to take the dipstick out of there. That would have hung us up for sure.
Or got bent.
Cleaner's standing by with a pan, because he hates dirty floors.
I wish we had another jack.
We do, but we didn't use it. There we go.
Bunch of water in there.
Yeah, there is. And some oil.
But you know what? That pan don't look as bad as 4G's.
No, nowhere near as bad as 4G's. There's our first look. In fact, you can still see it has that yellow Caterpillar Glyptol paint on the inside. 4G, that's long gone.
It wasn't gone, it was just covered with soot.
Yeah. Now that we got this oil pan out of here, I think we're going to pull the head. I wanted to show you guys something, and that is a PTO shaft on the front of this engine, which is a really bizarre spline that looks like they've actually took a file or a grinder and modified. But the worst part of this is they welded it to the front of the crankshaft. So, yeah. I don't think this crankshaft's going to be usable. It might be. You could machine it out, but I know there's threads in the middle of that thing, and those threads would definitely need to be tapped and cleaned up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you want to come in? All right. Come on in. You can go explore for mice and jump on our backs while we're doing something precariously. I'm going to get these fuel lines off of here. I think we're just going to leave the injectors right where they are and get this thing pulled off. I'll start taking the head bolts loose too. Got the oiler lines off, and I'm going to break loose these ones going to the injectors here. And it's funny, I remember when I bought this line wrench, somebody asked me, what are you going to use a line wrench that big for? Well, that. Got all the lines off, going to the injectors from the pump, and I was really happy to see some diesel in there. So that's really good news for this pump. And I'm going to work on, let's get that off of there next. Now I'm going to take off this thermostat housing, upper water neck off of here, and off the fuel pump, which I found was kind of interesting. It looks like they either were trying to keep the fuel warm, or I'm not really sure if they were thinking that would cool the fuel, but it looks to me like it would warm it up. Anyway, I got to get that taken off of here so I can get that head loose. Cut that out. That's very interesting. It's just a blind flange in there. So I'm assuming that the heat from the water in here was supposed to warm up the fuel there. That is very interesting. Well, at least I can get to that bolt back down in there, clear back there. Not only is that tucked away in there, and everything else is a 9/16 or a 1/2 inch size wrench, this is a 5/8 bolt. and you cannot get the box end around there. Now, I don't know if Cat did that or if that was something afterwards. This is the only wrench, this little stubby, that I can get to even fit in there. It is a very tight squeeze. Oh. And then when I go to turn it, it bumps up against that bolt, so I'll have to take that bolt out first. Barely got that one out of there. Let me get this one out. Definitely going to need a stubby wrench to get this thing out of here. Your box end won't fit over that, and neither will a socket. This absolutely had to have been an afterthought. 4Gs came off really simply. But the first look in there, actually, not a lot of scale like we had on 4G inside that head. Cleaner, you cleaned out?
I'm cleaned out. I've been cleaning all day.
He has been.
Reorganizing, shifting parts from here to there, back and forth. Yeah, so I'm ready to pull that head and see what it looks like.
Yeah, but that looks pretty good over there. You got us a place to put it?
Yes.
All right, I got it loose. Let's get it off of there. Got our crane rigged up over here. Got the cleaner on the end of the crane. And I'm going to give this a final check. Make sure everything's loose and free. Move that out of the way. We're going to have to pick this up very level. I think we're ready. What do you think, cleaner?
Want me to try it?
Let's try it. There it goes.
Yeah. Coming right up.
Yeah.
You'll have to jiggle wiggle it. I think the back came up higher than the front. Might have to get a little...
There it goes. This has got a copper gasket like 4G did.
I just hit something. There you go.
It's hanging that injector up. It's very tight tolerance over there by that fuel tower. All right.
Okay, coming out. Coming down.
This is like the second D4 head that's been on this table. Hold it right there. Okay, hold it. We know that one of these had low compression, and I think we see which one it is.
Could be. That one looks like it got hot.
Yeah, that valve there, a little rust.
I don't know, it's hard to tell.
That looks pretty fresh too, though.
It's hard to tell.
Probably just need ground and adjusted. I don't think it doesn't look anything as bad as 4G did. Nothing. Well, they're all free. None of them are stuck.
Well, yeah, they were free, weren't they?
Yeah, every one of them.
Let's go see what the top looks like.
Yeah, let's look in the engine. Lots of carbon. That looks like grit or sand in there. There's our marvel. It got down in there through the valve.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know, is that carbon or pitting on the piston top on this one?
I don't think it's pitting.
Screwdriver. Is it just carboned up?
I think it's just carbon. Oh, that one's got some pitting. This number 3 here, or number 2. That looks pretty ugly in there.
And
number 1 ain't great either. There's a lot of junk on there.
That one with the funky looking valve?
Yeah.
That's this cylinder right here.
Number 2, and that's the one, it probably had an injector slobbering.
Oh yeah, that piston is, you know what?
It's fine, it's just...
No, it's pitted.
It's pitted, but it's not unusable.
You know what? 4G's pistons look better than that. I'll bet this is a cylinder that it has a problem.
It had the miss, yeah.
Because that valve over there is funky too.
Yeah, that cylinder's our culprit.
More than likely.
The other's not too bad, and surprisingly, number 4 back here isn't terrible either. This is the one that's notorious for getting hot. And we got the head gasket off.
Man, that thing's really pitted.
But you know, look at the water ports and everything are a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Than they were on 4G.
Yeah, see, that's pits clear to the edge of the piston.
Yeah.
Look at that. That isn't carbon buildup. That's holes. Look at there.
That injector was probably burping in there.
Yeah, I'll bet that's what it's from, more than likely, huh?
I think you're right. Let's look underneath. Yeah. Looks like an engine. All right, go ahead and roll her, Dad.
More.
Go a little bit. Oh. You know, that cam looks a lot better than the cam in 4G.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. Hands down. I am going to finish taking this apart. I'm way too... And you know what? This rear bearing looks really good.
From what you can see.
What I can see. I have got to get this off of here and look at it. I think we're going to have it.
Some more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously the oil pump's turning, huh?
Yeah, yep. Which is good. That's another part we're probably going to use, this oil pump.
Turns nice.
Yeah.
What's it looking like, okay?
Yeah. I don't see any big red flags in here, Dad. Nothing looks damaged. Nothing looks like it's hit anything.
I want to turn that piston up so we can look at it closer.
Okay.
Wait, let me go.
That's kind of how 4G was stuck.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Just like that.
We should check the in-play. You know, I can't tell, but from what I'm seeing here, this is going to be a lot better engine than the one in Lefty. I don't know that it's necessarily unusable.
I don't know.
That ain't good for it. The front one's got a little of that, too.
Some of that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
See, these aren't bad.
Those are thick, though.
This one ain't. These two aren't bad.
Yeah. I want to feel if there's a ridge.
Well, you'll get a little carbon ridge.
You know, there's carbon, but it's smooth. There's no abrupt.
Yeah, and I don't see. You get a clean rag.
I don't know. The fact that it's free and moving, that's bigger than anything else that we have here.
Now look at that wall. I wiped it out. See, you don't see any scores, do you?
No. The carbon
See,
ridge
it looks smooth.
looks clean. It's smooth. I don't see. There's a little bit of a score down here.
How about this one?
Yeah. No? Yeah, there's a little bit of scoring down below.
How about that one? I didn't get it.
You know, it's hard to tell until we get it out and clean them up.
I don't think there's anything wrong with them. That's just carbon buildup.
Cool. What do you think?
I'm hoping that between this engine and 4Gs, we can make a good one.
Yeah. Me too. That's the same piston that's pitted.
Right.
You know, the rest of these aren't terrible.
No, this is just carbon on these.
Yeah. But yeah,
That
that's our culprit, number 2.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet that's the one.
Yeah. I don't see anything on, you know, everything's free and moving, so. We'll see. I was just commenting, I'm kind of curious to pull this apart here and see if it's going to have a composite gear in it. It's been a big day. We've actually got a lot done. We got a lot accomplished. We got a lot accomplished around the shop. Cleaner's been around here cleaning things. Our pony motor, we're getting ready to put it back together. Things are moving along. So we're not going to really know what we have in here until we can get that crank out of there and take a look at those bearings. Well, there you have it. The engine from 7J starting to come apart and go to work for Lefty. I do want to thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one. I think I found what you're looking for.